Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF World Champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 495 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by former heavyweight world title challenger, the main man himself, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. We're going to dive straight into the review part of the show. This one went down in Tarimbaro, Michoacan, Mexico. Over here we had friend of the show, former IBF world champion, Mr. Carlos Molina, now 41 and 15 with 2 draws. A unanimous decision for him over 8 rounds against Ricardo Cernas, who's now 18 and 13 with a draw. Carlos Molina, the promoter of the show, and obviously boxed in the main event at 154. So, good to see him, back and fighting at the weight that he won a world title at several years ago now. So good stuff for him. Moving now then to this one here. I'm gonna actually go to last Sunday. We get this one out the way first, but it went down at the Sumiyoshi Ward Center, Eddie, in Osaka, Japan. We had Kaito Yamasaki move to 10-1, a unanimous decision over 8 rounds against Wisaksa Wangek, aka Suresaket Sorungvasai, aka
The Rat Eater.
I swear, man, we need to get T-shirts printed out with those words on it, man, because it's the catchphrase. It is the podcast
I love
catchphrase.
that. Whenever I hear the name coming up, I always feel really good because I get to say The Rat Eater. I love it.
He's now 58-7 with a draw, so a loss for him, like I say, unanimously over 8 rounds. But now we're going to move to the big one of the weekend. It went down at the Boardwalk Hall, Atlantic City, New Jersey, live on DAZN. Let's touch on the undercard first. We had Shakram Giasov move to 17-0, a KO for him in the 4th against Franco Ocampo, now 17-3. We also had Raymond Ford move to 17-1 with a draw, a unanimous decision for him over 10 rounds against Thomas Matisse, now 22-5 with a draw. Sean Porter actually tweeted just before the fight saying that he's known Thomas Matisse for years, and this is going to be a really tough test for Raymond Ford. It didn't turn out that way. Raymond Ford was in full control. Early on, he was catching Matisse with some big shots, looked like a stoppage was going to be coming, but obviously it didn't come, and it ended up going the entire distance. I'm not entirely sure, I could be wrong, but I'm not entirely sure that Raymond Ford likes me anymore. Obviously we had him on the podcast, and I mentioned his name a couple of times during the end of year awards ceremony. I was saying that Nick Ball was one of the best British fighters of 2024, and I went on to say, because he beat Raymond Ford in what was a competitive fight, but one that Nick Ball won quite clearly. I think I said something like that, and he didn't like that. So I haven't spoke to him since then. I've sent him a few texts, and I didn't get anything back. So I don't know how he feels at the minute, but I wish him all the best. No hard feelings from me. It would have been nice to see him back on the show. But yeah, like I say, I sent him a text after the fight, and I haven't heard back. So I'm assuming maybe he's still a bit annoyed about that comment back in December. What was you trying to say there, Eddie?
For me, if it's constructive in the criticism, if there is any criticism, and in this case, I don't really think it was so much there was criticism, you know what I mean? But if somebody thought somebody won a fight that I was in and said it, I look at it as it's an opinion. Everyone has one. Even if it's kind of, especially if it's been validated by other judges. It's just, it's like when I fought Tomas. A lot of people thought I won the fight, but I'm pretty sure there was a good amount of people that thought I did. Would I have an attitude toward those people that thought I didn't win the fight? Not really. That's their opinion. You know what I mean? It is hard to win a fight with one hand, especially if somebody else is busy, just in general. So I couldn't have had to have really an attitude. And especially if it's someone whose job to have their opinion and put it out there. And regardless of whether you have a good relationship with them or not, it's like, Joe, I would expect you to tell me if I fought a guy and you felt that that guy beat me. That's, I think if you're an honest person, that's what I think you would do. And if you're a friend, that's what I think you would do. You would tell me the truth. You know what I mean? So either way, I think it's a little shallow, but it's one of those things where he's a young guy, and I think he wants to, have everybody like him, or everybody likes what he does, and he's used to having people around him, especially at this point, where everybody's green lighting everything for him. And I think sometimes that puts people in this frame of mind. They can't do no wrong, even if they have. You know what I'm saying? And I think if that's the case, then look. No disrespect to him, but maybe you're better without it, and that's fine.
No, I appreciate the kind words, Eddie. Obviously some people, we've heard this before. I don't know if he even does feel that way, but, we've heard this before, that in boxing, it's got some of the most toughest men in the world, but with the thinnest skin. That's been said. Another thing, Eddie, I don't know if I'm sure you've heard this one, maybe you haven't, but like we were talking there about opinions, people have got their opinions in boxing, but have you ever heard the term that if insert fighter's name was boxing in my back garden, I'd draw the curtains? Have you ever heard that one?
I draw the curtains. Yo.
That's like if I said, like, if Eddie Chambers was fighting in my back garden, I'd pull the curtains. Like I'd close the curtains. You never heard that, no?
No, I have never heard that way. Well, said that way, but that is a new one for me. Okay. I think I'm pretty sure that's an English one, which I like. I like it a lot, and it sounds cool because it's coming from an English accent too. But also, it does kind of make sense. It's like some people will say over here, I guess you couldn't pay me to watch them or something like that. But yeah, it's like. It's just hilarious that you said it that way. But yeah, if they were fighting in your backyard, you wouldn't even draw the curtains. I got it. Yeah, that makes sense. I like that, though. I'm going to use it.
There we go. And moving up to the main event, Jaron Boots Ennis, now 34-0, still the IBF welterweight champion of the world. His opponent, Imantis Stanionis, was undefeated. He's now 15-1. He loses his Stanionis down in the 6th round. Stanionis was... what was he, the WBA champion, I believe? I can't remember now which way round it was, but obviously a unification for Ennis. Stanionis retired on his stool after 6, didn't come out for the 7th. Stoppage win for Ennis, another stoppage win for him in this unification. I felt the first round, and I will come to you, Eddie, for sure. I know that you watched it. The first round was a very good first round for Boots. God knows how many jabs he was landing. His jab was excellent in that first round. He kept popping it out, and at times Stanionis couldn't get past the jab. Ennis was mixing it up as well. Looked very confident in there, throwing different varieties of shots. Really good opening round for him. He looked really sharp. He looked really sharp for the whole fight. The second round, Boots again for me won that round. He was much quicker with his hands and his feet than Stanionis. The pair exchanged in the middle of the ring as well a little bit in the second round. And Stanionis landed a lovely left hook, which I think you probably will say a thing or two about. Boots kind of yeah, caught with his chin up in the air a little bit, got caught with a lovely left hook. Stanionis did actually catch Ennis with a nice left hook in the first round as well, but the one in the second round was a real peach. But it wasn't enough to win the round. Boots did win the round. Boots as well was beginning to kind of bring his uppercut into play a little bit. Third round, another round for Boots. He was winning the rounds and he was really opening up as well, but he was being caught here and there with some big eye-catching shots. Again, pulling out with his chin up in the air. I don't know if Stanionis, had the power to fully capitalise on those openings, but again, it seemed like Boots' defence was quite leaky again. It's been a thing. It's been a theme in his recent couple of performances. Maybe just too overconfident. Maybe just a bit too greedy. But again, I gave him that third round. I gave him the fourth. I gave him every round, so I'm going to save time now. But round 5. I felt that was probably Stanionis' best round, but then Boots finished the round really well, bloodied the nose of Stanionis, probably nicked the round just at the last 30 seconds of it. It was eye-catching stuff. And then, like I say, round 6, another round for Ennis. And for me, that will be the official best performance of Ennis's career. I don't mean to be critical, because I don't think it's Ennis's fault, of course, but obviously it needs to be mentioned, Stanionis and Ennis are both fighters who benefited from, Crawford being stripped or vacating belts. They both became champions after that. Stanionis, as we touched on, very good amateur career, but as a pro, his best win was probably Gabriel Maestra, who, again, 99% of people know Maestra should have lost to Michael Fox. I give him credit for Ennis getting the stoppage here, but Stanionis was, again, in hindsight, which is a fantastic thing, I just think was still a little unproven as a pro. I would say, though, that right now Boots is the man at 147, but again, the division for me is at the weakest it's been for several years, and there were many names, hanging around. I think we spoke about it earlier on, Eddie. There were a hell of a lot of names at 147 for Boots to fight. Boots has got himself to 33-0. You could argue maybe he wasn't ready, but again, he's had 33 fights now. Obviously, we've seen many welterweights in recent years either completely depart from the division, or they're nowhere near, their former selves, which you can talk about with a few guys. Spencer's moved up, Terence Crawford has moved up, Furman is semi-retired, Danny Garcia I think is now retired, Virgil Ortiz moved up, Sean Porter retired, Amir Khan and Kell Brook, again Amir Khan you might laugh at, but Kell Brook retired, Amir Khan retired. There's quite a few guys. I'm probably even missing a few out as well, but it was such a stacked division for a number of years where any of the top guys could beat the other guy on any given night, and I feel like it's really weak now. Obviously, the days where Mayweather was champion, again there were some good fighters there, and after that, it's always been a really fantastic division 147, but he's in a very weak place at the moment, and yeah, I think Ennis is the man. You've got other champions like Mario Barrios, who I love to death, but I think Boots is probably the man now with all those guys out of the way. It's just a shame we never got any of them fights. Anyway, what did you make of it, Eddie? And yeah, tell me.
Yeah, I agree with the timing of it. It's just unfortunate for Boots. I think he would have done well in some of the previous eras, obviously. Even with the Crawford and Spence time, I think he would have done well. I'm not sure he would have beat those guys. Not sure he would have beat, the Sean Porters nor the Keith Thurmans. Just not sure. I mean, obviously, I would think he would be, right at the top with the Spencers and Crawfords, but there's no way of knowing unless he actually fought him, right? So that's just unfortunate. The timing is the way it is. It just, it sucks with it. But as far as his performance, I mean, and who he fought, you can only fight who's in front of you. And it was similar to like a Roy Jones, back in the day with Roy Jones when he had his run, you know what I mean, where he was just destroying guys anywhere from 54 to heavyweight. It was just like he was, even in the song, he basically said, I beat everybody. I just made them look like, they were somebody's, but I just made them look like nobody. And that's kind of in this situation, what you're hoping with Boots is that, these guys are good fighters, or at least, Stanionis in this case is a really good fighter. He just happened to be in there with a monster. You know what I mean? That's what we all hope for, because we want to see him in the future fight other high-level monsters, namely a guy like a Virgil Ortiz. So, if just to kind of look at the performance, I mean, if there's only one thing, and I'm a big stickler on this, one thing, and we've talked about it, Joe, you just mentioned it, is being in position to properly defend after punches are thrown. That is something that I think a lot of guys, especially, when you're undefeated, you're at the top of your game, there's no one that, you feel like there's no one that can challenge you, blah, blah, blah. And this is when things happen. And this is when you get caught with crazy shots. And, I think Stanionis was, as good a fighter as he might have been. I think he was outclassed. I think Boots was just on another level. But if that's the case, then there should be not an opportunity given to the guy. And I think in some of those instances, he gave him opportunities. The only way that I think the Stanionis could have won the fight is by catching him and hurting him and putting him down and, getting him in trouble. And the only way he can win is that. Why give him the opportunity? It's the same thing I told Tyson when he was fighting, a guy in a similar situation years ago. Actually, not. It wasn't. I don't think, Joey Abel was not anywhere near the Stanionis level. But what I'm saying is, you got a guy in front of you that you can beat, that you can control a fight, you can do without putting yourself in harm's way. You should do it. I understand that, we're here to entertain, but not at the expense of your career or your health. You have to do what's safe, what's smart. Now, obviously, if the fight was, extremely close and you had to make something happen, that's a different story. Then you can risk it, because now you got to take chances. But in this case, I don't think he needed to take the chances that he was, and he did. And, maybe that makes him a little bit more exciting than I would be. But hey, if you're able to dominate, you have to do yourself that service. You dominate the fight, but you don't put yourself in position to get hurt. You got to put yourself in and think about longevity, think about success over a long period, obviously, right? That's longevity. And doing what you do and taking crazy shots in between is just not a good recipe. Imagine he's a better fighter. Imagine he's Terrence Crawford. Is those shots going to be taken as easy? I don't think so. If you're in there, could you imagine the Canelo, David Benavidez, even though, David Benavidez is going to be, way up to 75 and probably further? No. You're not going to be able to stand up under those types of shots. So we got to clean that up. Other than that, I think he's an awesome talent. I think he can be one of the best fighters in the world. He could be one. He's going to end up on a pound for pound list. I'm not sure where soon, but he has to continue to keep this going, and he's going to have to fight some more recognizable names in the near future for that to become a reality. Right now, I think he has, one A1 talent. I don't think there's a lot of guys better talent wise. But on paper is not how we fight. We fight in the ring. So he's going to have to continue to improve. And I think namely defensively, just to make sure he doesn't get caught with anything strange as we go forward. And if he does that, I think he'll have a hell of a shot at being maybe one of the next great champions that we have in boxing.
Yeah, obviously there's lots of talk about him moving up in the future to 154, which I think is very exciting. There's a lot of guys there, and again, we spoke about it earlier on, Eddie, before we started recording, and I don't want to talk about this too much right now, but there's some great names for him to mix it with at 154 if that does eventually happen, which you'd probably say it will. Just a few of them I want to quickly reel off. You've got Yoenis Tellez, which is the Cuban undefeated fighter who's 10-0. He looks really good right now. You've got Jesus Ramos, obviously 23-1. The one loss came to Erickson Lubin. I think you've still got Lubin at the weight. You've got Charles Comwell as well, who's looking really good. 21 years of age, 21-0, 27 years of age, same age as Boots Ennis. You've got Tim Su, you've got Israel Madrimov, you've got Sergei Boachuk, you've got Xander Zayas, you've got Virgil Ortiz Jr., Sebastian Fundora, Bakram Murtazaliev, the guy that knocked out Tim Su, got him out of there in 3 rounds, looked unbelievable. He's undefeated, 23-0, and obviously the main man himself, Terence Crawford. So there's some real beasts at that weight, and they've all got very different styles as well. So I'd love to see him up there at some point. I think we're going to really find out how good he is when he gets up there. Anyway, moving on. Well, there's nothing to move on to. That is the end of the review part of the show. It's now time to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former IBO Light-Heavyweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Lyndon Arthur. Lyndon, welcome back on the show, my man.
Thank you very much. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, my friend. Always good when speaking with you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good on the way home. Just finished finishing the gym.
Wicked.
Going home to eat and chill.
Okay. It's late in the evening to be eating.
Nah, I'm fine, man. I got good nutrition. I trust what they say.
Okay. Good stuff, my friend. So yeah, it's been a minute, man. We last spoke back in December of 2022. At the time, you'd just beaten Joel McIntyre. A lot has happened since then. How have things been?
Yeah, good, man. Obviously, I've had the Bivol fight, Liam Cameron, which that fight aged pretty well considering, my performance wasn't the best, but I've been a good performance against Benn. It's not don't look as bad. And yeah, man, we got the Yarde rematch. The trilogy, should I say? I'm excited to be in a trilogy in front of a massive crowd at Tottenham. First football stadium fight. I'm doing all right.
No, that's brilliant, man. Yeah, tell me as well, just in a nutshell, what it was like to share the ring with Dmitry Bivol. It must have been crazy, man.
Yeah, man, obviously. Said it a million times. It wasn't the best preparation I had, but all the time. But it is what it is. It was an opportunity that I had to take. Wasn't going to at first, but then when I got to the press conference and seeing how big the event was and what it was going to be and going in there against the likes of Bivol, who I've been a fan of since I've seen him, and he's one of my favorite fighters. Why should I have not done that? Regardless of the time and the preparation I had, it was a great experience for me. I went 12 rounds. Not that I would never glorify losing, but to be able to in 3.5 weeks' time get ready for the best pound for pound, one of the best pound for pound in the world is, and lose the way I did, and just I'm not saying I did my best, but I went in there and did what I could with what I had to do, and I shared a ring with one of the greats.
100%, man. 100%. You nailed that pretty much. Your answer there was spot on. As you mentioned as well, after that Bivol fight, you shared the ring with Liam Cameron, winning by split decision. He's obviously got his rematch this weekend with Benn Whittaker.
Yeah.
What did you make of their first fight, and how do you see this second one going?
The first fight, I can't lie. I obviously sharing the ring with him, and me knowing that I wasn't exactly at my best in that fight. Again, no excuses. He did what he had to do. That was his big opportunity, and I'm glad that I was the one that, we fought him and he gives a good performance, and he's been able to build on that now. I'm glad I'll be a part of his journey, because his story is amazing. But I actually thought Benn was gonna. I rate Benn highly, as much as a prick as he is. I rate him highly, and boxing ability wise. So, I thought he was gonna win, and Liam went in there, and I believe Benn took him very lightly, and Liam did what he did. I think Benn will go away from that, and I think he would have trained even harder now, and it'll be even sharper. It'll be hard to doubt Benn the second time round. But again, Liam, one of them guys, is resilient. He's got nothing to lose whatsoever, and he's got it all to gain. He's a good fighter. People forget that he's a good fighter. He's been Commonwealth champion in the past, and he's now on a roll. He's gone 10 rounds with me. He's had a good few fights. He's had a fight with Benn. He's going in that ring confident. He's got all the confidence from the first fight because he actually believes Benn quit, like as a lot of people do, and he believes he hurt him. He believes Benn was tiring. He'll take all that confidence in there. I'm not sure if it'll be enough because, like I said, boxing-wise, I rate him, Benn highly. So we'll see. I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah, me too. I think it's brilliant. It's obviously headlining. It's a 10 times bigger fight than the first time, and I can't wait for it like you. But yeah, let's get to it. Obviously, the main reason you're here, not too long to wait now, not this weekend, but next. You'll be having, as you say, that Anthony Yarde trilogy fight, April 26th, in that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I feel like, Lyndon, a win here for you would take your career to an even higher level. Like, this is massive for you.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. It's huge for both of us, really. Whoever wins this goes on to great things. These great fights out there, all up and down the division, from world to domestic. I'm confident. I'm excited. I'm raring to go. I don't believe I'm nothing like I'm going to be in a second fight or the first. I'm just excited. I'm excited. I've been training hard for 12 weeks. I'm in a great shape, greatest shape I believe I've been in a long time. I've dieted for the best part of 12 weeks, and I'm just excited to get in there and see what I give.
And what I find so interesting as well is not often do we see two fights in the past where both fights have been completely different type of fights. This third fight has got a lot of people really wondering if it's going to look anything like the first or the second fight. You just said there that you don't feel like...
A lot of people believe he's going to just walk through me again. A lot of people. There are a lot. I've seen the blog pages or whatever, the boxing pages are already putting out that they're planning for Yarde to fight Callum Smith or Benavidez or Buatsi, or that they proper overlooking me. It is what it is. I'm glad. I feel like it's the first fight again where everyone just overlooks me. I'm excited to be the underdog.
You mentioned, Lyndon, that you don't feel like you're the same fighter, or maybe you're not going to bring the same stuff as what you brought in the first or second fight. So do you feel like this third fight is going to be a unique fight? It's not going to look anything like the other two?
I don't know about unique. I don't know. I just know that I'm going in there. I am 100%, 150% ready for this opportunity. That's all I know. It is what it is. I'm excited. I'm fit. I'm ready. I'm on shape. I'm ready.
And again, you said there that there's a lot of boxing pages that are writing you off, which again I think is crazy. It makes me wonder if those boxing pages actually took the time to watch Anthony Yarde's last performance. No disrespect to him.
Yeah, but my performance wasn't the best. But I tell you now, I couldn't care less for what anybody says. I honestly couldn't care less. I see people think. I see people say, "Why is this fight happening?" Blah blah. Don't watch it then. Don't watch it. It's fine. I just know that I'm in there, and I feel like I'm at my best. So I'm excited for it.
Again, obviously, people can read into last performances if they want. There's that saying, "You're only as good as your last performance." Even though you say that you wasn't your absolute best against Cameron, you still came through a good fighter there. We've seen that. But Yarde looked really, really flat. In fact, worryingly flat in his last fight. What do you take from that?
I don't take nothing from it because he won't be like that against me. He won't be like that against me. He'll be ready. He'll be the best version of himself against me. I think so. That's what I'm prepared for. I don't read into past performances because he wasn't fighting me. He would have took that guy a bit lightly, and he thought he would have got him out there. And then I didn't watch the fight, but I heard he knocked him down, and then probably just stepped off the gas, or just thought it was going to be an easy fight. And the guy probably gave him a bit of problems just through him dropping levels. I understand that happens in boxing. It happens in sparring all the time. It happens in fights all the time. I get it. I understand it. I understand the game. I understand it fully, so I don't judge him on that performance whatsoever.
Okay. It's interesting. Again, like I say, I'm really pumped for this trilogy fight. The whole event is very exciting. On to the main event, Eubank Benn. I've been asking people this every week. Who have you got and why?
You know what? I change my mind every time I get asked this question. I lean towards Eubank just through size and experience, in a sense of he's had the harder fights. He's been in there with the better opponents, but then, you know, Conor's really going to be in there and he's going to be determined and resilient, and you just kind of think and question if Eubank lands, because Conor Benn's going to be coming in ferociously. If you walk onto a punch from Eubank, who's also fit and ferocious, it could be like the dads fighting. I'm not saying they're anything like the dads in regards to like them being on their dads levels, but it could be that kind of barnstorm of a fight where it's back and forth. They both could go down. You know, we know Eubank's got a good chin. Conor's not really been tested yet, apart from that French kid that he beat again. He had a rematch with. So this could be it. This could be a great fight. Could be one where there's a rematch. You don't know, but you just kind of respectfully lean towards Eubank just through size and just through experience.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, to be honest with you. My last real question for you, Lyndon. Obviously, the light heavyweight division in the UK is never boring, but I wanted to ask you, I think we touched on it just briefly, but almost everyone was writing Callum Smith off against Josh Buatsi. How impressed or surprised maybe were you with the way that fight went?
Not even surprised, because Callum Smith's been a world champion. Like, let's not forget this super middleweight. He reigned. He won the Muhammad Ali trophy. He beat some good fighters, you know, and at light heavyweight, he's not looked too shabby. Let's not say, oh, he got beat off Beterbiev, because Beterbiev doesn't beat everybody, like, and stops everybody. Bivol, you know, so we can't judge Callum Smith off that. Callum Smith's a world class fighter. He's only been beat off the best. Let's not forget that. Canelo and Beterbiev.
100%.
The only people that's beat Callum Smith. So, you know, but again, then let's not take nothing away from Joshua Buatsi, even because he's in there with a world-class operator in Callum Smith. It was just a great fight to watch. Obviously for the fans, probably not so good for the headaches, but for us as fans watching a fight and as someone who's in that division, you have to just take your half to the pair of them, because they both looked hurt in the fight at some points, and Callum Smith just shown that little bit more experience and shown that, you know, the pedigree of being an experienced professional, being world champion and being in the tough fights, was pulled through a little bit more. That fight there will do nothing wrong for Joshua Buatsi. You know, in his next fight, or that will just add tons of experience on for him, and he'll know. He's showing heart, he's showing chin, he's showing toughness, he's showing he's not just going to get hit and go down, and he's going to carry on fighting no matter until the very end bell. It was a great fight to watch.
Yeah, to be honest, it probably stole the show. It was a brilliant fight, and
yeah,
I'm happy.
It's crazy that it was on the first fight.
I know, it's madness.
Because there was good fights after that, but they kind of looked like it wasn't good fights because of how good that fight was.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah, it was hard to fight after that. It was a fantastic fight, and I'm happy for Callum as well, who a lot of people were writing off unfairly, I felt. Just before we let you go, Lyndon, if you've just got any closing words to the listeners, if you want to sign out with a little message, take it away, my friend. The floor is yours.
Yeah, man, just everybody tune in. It's going to be, I'm sure everybody will. The fight night is going to be a great event. I can't wait to walk out in front of the thousands of fans. You know, it's not Old Trafford, what Tottenham will do. I'm excited for everyone to come down.
Maybe the fourth fight will be in Old Trafford. We'll see.
Something like that.
That'd be a dream, man. But yeah, listen, Lyndon, as always, the pleasure is mine. Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck for April 26th, and we'll speak sometime after the fight for sure.
No problem, mate. Thank you. See you later.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the preview part of the show. We're going to start here tomorrow at the Yunost Arena in Chelyabinsk, Russia. Over here we have Sergey Kovalev, 35-5 with a draw in what I believe is said to be his farewell fight. He's back home in Russia. He's having a 10-rounder at cruiserweight against Arthur Mann, who's 22-4. All the best there to big Sergey. Moving now then to the Park Community Arena in Sheffield, Yorkshire, United Kingdom. This one goes down on Saturday. It's going to be live on DAZN. It's a decent card, I suppose, really. There's some interesting fights. Let's touch on the undercard first. We're going to go here to this one. We've got Josh Padley back in the ring following his defeat to Shakur Stevenson in Saudi Arabia. He's back, and he's back with a 13-0 undefeated fighter called Marko Setanovic. 13-0, 6 KOs. A southpaw from Serbia. Just looking down his record, seeing if I recognise any of these names. He did share the ring in his last fight with Viril Simeon, who has been in there with many different fighters, man. He's been in there with Shakur Stevenson, Scott Quigg, Gary Cully, Zelfa Barrett, Harlem Eubank. He's really done the rounds, this guy. Lee Selby. He managed to stop him in 3 rounds, but he gets in with Josh Padley, 15-1. The one loss, like I say, in very, very good company. We also have on the card the undefeated prospect Giorgio Visioli, 6-0, back in an 8-rounder here against Kane Baker, who's 19-11 with 2 draws. He's always tough and game, Kane Baker, but he's up against it here massively. And hasn't boxed for a year this week. Also on the card we have Josh Warrington, 31-4 with a draw. He's back here in a 10-rounder against Asad Khan, who is 19-6 with a draw. People will remember the name Asad Khan because just last month he boxed Michael Conlon on these shores. So he's back again. He lost on points over 8 rounds to Conlon, and yeah, this should be a relatively straightforward win for Josh Warrington. We also have this one here, Ryan Kelly, 19-5 with a draw. He's back against Kevin Agyarko, 16-0. That one's a 10-rounder there at 154. And then the main event for the WBC Silver Super Lightweight title, back in a 12-rounder, we have Dalton Smith, one of the UK's absolute red-hot talents. Like I say, 17-0, topping the bill at home in Sheffield against Matau Germain, who's 26-2 with a draw. And he's a decent fighter, in all honesty. His losses have come against good fighters. He lost to Yves Ulysse Jr. back in 2020. And he come back after that and was able to beat Steve Claggett, who's not a terrible fighter. So, he's got a bit of experience. Like I say, this will be his 30th pro fight. So, almost double that of Dalton Smith. And, Dalton Smith will come for him and will end up stopping him. I would say probably within 5 rounds. But, it's going to be a good fight, I think. So, yeah, you've always got to watch Dalton Smith. He's such a good fighter, very accurate, doesn't waste much at all. He's the full package, really. I think he's such a impressive talent. I really enjoy watching him. We also have, let's have a look. We also have this one going down later in the evening in the US at the Front Wave Arena in Oceanside, California, USA. We have Gabriela Fundora, 15-0. This one for possibly all the belts. Yeah, I think it's for all the belts at flyweight. IBF, WBC, WBO, WBA. She's back in a 10 rounder 10-2s against Marilyn Amaya, who's 19-0 with a draw. So one of the ladies there is set to lose their O. All the very best to Gabriela Fundora, the sister of the Towering Inferno. On the undercard though, we have Charles Conwell, 21-0, back in a 12-rounder against Jorge Perez, 32-4. And we also have friend of the show and former world champion Alexander Gvozdik, 20-2, back in an 8-rounder against Anthony Holloway, who's 9-7 with 3 draws. Not sure if he's boxed since losing to David Benavidez. Alexander Gvozdik, all the best to him, nice guy. Moving now then to the final card to mention. It goes down on Sunday the 20th. Don't get mistaken for Saturday. Sunday the 20th at the Resorts World Arena in Birmingham, West Midlands, United Kingdom. It's going to be live on Sky Sports, and it's a decent card, to be totally honest. I'm really looking forward to this one. I like the fact that it's on a Sunday as well. It kind of mixes things up a little bit. We have on the card 19-0 Mark Jeffers. He's back in a 6-rounder. Seems like a real drop down. I don't understand that. His last 4 fights have all been 10-rounders. Now he's getting in with this guy here in a 6-rounder, Ricardo Lara, who's 24-13 with 2 draws. Even though he's not a big puncher at all, Mark Jeffers, you know, he was at one point 17-0 with 4 KOs. He is coming off 2 KOs in a row. He's back here, like I say, against this guy who has been stopped 6 times in his 13 losses, Ricardo Lara, the Mexican, who has been in there with, well, he's actually been in there with Matty Aljamain, the guy who's boxing the day before, against Dalton Smith, we just mentioned a few moments ago. Also on that card in Birmingham, without going on a tangent, we have last week's guest, Elliot Wow, the undefeated welterweight prospect, 11-0. He's in an 8-rounder here against Lucas Balingal, who is 18-2. That one could potentially steal the show. Obviously, Lucas Balingal is the brother of Michael McKinson. They're extremely talented. And both guys here, Elliot Wow and Lucas Balingal, both guys are, not really guys that people are too quick to accept fights against. You know, they're both dangerous fighters. They're both very skillful. And for me, I think Elliot Wow will have too much for Lucas Balingal. I think he's going to be a bit too big, but it should be a good one there. I'm looking forward to that one, and you can't write either man off. But yeah, I know that Balingal's very confident going in. We also have on the card, return to the ring for former European champion Tyler Denny, 19-3-3. He gets in with Elvis Ahorga, who's 13-3. That's over 10 rounds there. Again, you might recognise the name Elvis Ahorga. He stepped in with Callum Simpson last time out, back in February of this year. And yeah, he's a big puncher. 12 KOs from his 13 wins. Tyler Denny, obviously not known for his big punch by any means. So this is going to be interesting, because Ahorga usually gets knocked out or knocks you out, and Tyler Denny usually goes the distance. So that's going to be interesting. Again, I said that Elliot Wow and Lucas Balingal could steal the show. This one could also steal the show. We've got Lee Cutler, 15-1, coming off his win last time out, an upset win against Stephen McKenna. He's back here against fan favourite, friend of the show, Sam Eggington, 35-9. Sam Eggington obviously boxing at home in Birmingham. All the very best to him. It's a tough fight though. I'd love to see him win that one for the WBC International Silver Super Welterweight title over 10. We also have return to the ring for Fraser Clark, 8-1 with a draw. He's back in a 10-rounder. The first fight back since, having a nightmare 1-round fight against Fabio Wardley where his face got, dented in really. He's back against Ebenezer Tete, who's 23-2. This one's a 10-rounder. Ebenezer Tete's 2 losses came to Dillian White and Daniel Dubois. He gave Dillian White something to think about out in Gibraltar back in December of last year. So again, a tough fighter, but I don't think he's got a fantastic gas tank. And then the main event, that rematch between Ben Whittaker, 8-0 with a draw, and Liam Cameron, 23-6 with a draw. It's a 10-rounder. yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. It's obviously a much bigger fight. I think I've said that a few times in recent weeks, but really looking forward to it because there's a lot of people that feel that Ben Whittaker was looking for a way out of that first fight when they both went tumbling over the ropes, and now they get to do it again. It's 10 times bigger, and it's very intriguing because Ben Whittaker was probably behind in that fight if you're going to score it fairly. Liam Cameron was having a good early start to that fight, and Liam Cameron, again, very, very experienced as an amateur and as a pro, and it may have just been Ben Whittaker underestimating him. I'm not entirely sure, but we're gonna see it finally play out. And like I say, I'm praying that it's not going to be a controversial ending. Hopefully we see a rightful winner, and it will be interesting though, because again, if Ben Whittaker can bounce back from that controversial controversial draw, and like I say, come back and win convincingly, then it's a real statement there. But yeah, he does know how good Cameron is, and he won't be overestimating him or underestimating him this time round. Sorry. So it's going to be interesting. Don't miss that one on Sunday. I'm not entirely sure what time it comes on the TV on Sky, but again, make sure you're well aware. It probably starts quite early so they can finish not too late, for obviously Easter holidays and all the rest of it. So there we go. That wraps up the preview part of the show. In part 1, we did the review part. Then we welcomed our special guest. In part 2, we did the news and the preview part. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 495 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A massive shout out to this week's special guest, the former IBO Light-Heavyweight Champion of the World, Mr. Lyndon Arthur. The biggest thanks, as always, goes out to you, the listeners. Thanks once again for tuning in. There's just one piece of news to mention just before we go, and it is that Keyshawn Davis has got his next fight penciled in for June the 7th in Norfolk, so it's a homecoming fight for him. He boxes Edwin De Los Santos, who many people will remember, a former opponent of Shakur Stevenson in what wasn't the prettiest of fights to watch. That's the one piece of news to bring you. So yeah, that's about everything now from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe. Don't forget the boxing on Sunday, and we'll see you all again same time next week.